Today I'm going to be giving my monthly net worth update as we kick off April, and I'm sitting at a net worth of around $161,000 as a 23-year-old. Today I'm going to be breaking down overall what makes up that net worth with my assets and liabilities, how it's grown over the past few months, and I'm also going to be sharing my stock portfolios, things I've been doing, how much I've been spending to get me to this point that I'm currently at. So as you can see, this is just my 2026, it's called a Money Hub. I got this template off someone else a few years back and I've been tracking it over the last few years. And you can see at the bottom corner here, my net worth is sitting at $161,000. This is my personal net worth over the years since I've been tracking it. And you can see 2025 was a massive year for me. I had a slow period at the start of the year, but towards the end of the year, it was on a really big, strong trajectory in growth. Start of this year has been a bit slow as well, because a lot of my net worth is tied to my stock portfolio, which I'll share a bit more on. I do share weekly update videos on this channel of my stock portfolio, but I'll go in depth with it today as well. And the other things that make up my portfolio of all my assets include my superannuation fund. This is like my retirement investing savings, and then also my cash balance. So if we jump into how things are looking at the moment, first thing we can look and see is in the last month, I made $8,500. So again, a lot of that's just through my personal income, through my work. And then I got some extra money through interest. I don't count my dividends in there or anything like that. Last month, I earned around $100 in dividends, but that's not counted. And then you can see last month, I kept my expenses really low at $1,700. So what that did was when I totaled up all my bank accounts, stake, Vanguard, and then my tiny bit of money I have in cryptocurrency, that meant my total end of month balance of my investments were just under $170,000. Like I mentioned before, the other asset I own is my superannuation. So this is my savings for retirement that we have here in Australia. Other countries, I believe, have a similar thing with I think in America, they either call it a Roth IRA or a 401k. And I have around $34,000. That actually went down with the stock markets having a bit of a rough month. So that's come down a little bit, but still working my way towards $35,000. And then in terms of my liabilities, I have one liability, and that is my student loans. So I studied, I have a degree, and I have around $43,000 in student debt. So overall, my assets are sitting at over $200,000, and then I have around $40,000 in debt and liabilities, and that's what takes me to this $161,000 figure. I have some other assets like my car, which is paid off, but I don't include it. I only really include my liquid or my true investments. Again, many people include things like their cars, watches, clothes, that type of thing, technology. I personally don't. Obviously you can if you really want to, but just for me, it's not something that I include. So that's kind of how I'm sitting at the moment with this. And then as we'll break down into the numbers a little bit more. So I did mention at the start my income. So again, this month was a 3 pay cycle month. So I earned around $8,500, which is good for me. And again, I only spent $1,700 of that on things like rent, food, travel, very cheap transport, just because of the incentives we have here where I live. And then I try to keep my rent and food down as much as possible and save. I didn't really do any unnecessary spending this month, and I tried to use my car as least as possible just because of the increase in fuel costs. So I've been taking public transport everywhere. And then in regards with other spending, I've been pretty good with it as well. I haven't bought anything else extra. So I've been trying to stay on top of it and save as much money as I can. And as you can see, in the last month, my bank account balance actually did go down because I just invested another $5,000 out of my savings into my stock portfolios, just to hopefully make the most of this dip that's happening at the moment with the geopolitical situations. So as you can see, in the last month, I had growth of around $5,000 in my assets, which is very good. So hopefully I can continue that. Again, it's been a slower start to the year with the pullback in stocks. And like I said before, majority of my wealth is tied to the stock market. At this moment, I don't currently own any real estate. That's a goal of mine going forward, is to purchase real estate as well besides my stocks. So I can have multiple, a bit more diversification. But that's something that will hopefully help in the future. So If we again have a look at my net worth updates, this hasn't been a quick journey. If we go back to 2024, this is when I was really establishing myself and starting off in my personal career. And you can see there was a big growth in 2024, all the way up from around 25,000 to 74,000. And then things really lifted off again in 2025. Had a slow start to the year. That's when Liberation Day and all that was happening. There was a lot of volatility in the stock market, but if you see at the end of the year, things really start to compound. There were some massive months there. You can see from October to November where things jumped $20,000. That does include, obviously, I got a bonus at work, things like that, but I went from $72,000 to 158, and now I'm up to 161. So obviously, as the year goes on and I'm making the most, I am heavily investing at the moment. So if markets do turn back up, then I can really be in a prime position to reap the rewards of kind of delaying my spending at the moment. Another thing is super. So superannuation, like I mentioned before, is retirement savings. So a bit of money comes out every fortnight and goes towards my superannuation. I just took a little screenshot here so you can see some of the pools of how things are invested. So I'm 60-40 split, and you can see this is a little bit old, so ignore some of the financial year to date. But if we take a 10-year view, it's averaging around 10 to 11% returns. So hopefully I can invest in that, and that will help me in my retirement, or even if I never get to use this money, it can go towards family or my kids or someone like that. So that's just a little nice little bit of extra money that I'll have pocketed away. Again, you can only access this money when you're older, 60s to 70s. So again, I'm not relying on this money. It's just going to be a nice little buffer, hopefully towards the end of my life, which that way I don't have to put any extra pressure on my family to kind of help fund me. I can be self-reliant. But again, my goal in the short term is to grow these portfolios. So you can see my current amounts here and then my goal amounts. So I'll be able to get my savings back up to 30 grand. So I have around 3.5 to save. And then with my stake and my Vanguard account, the overall goal is to get both to 100,000. So I'm still a fair bit off that mark, but I'm working towards that. Especially if we take a look at my investments, you can see over time, my stake portfolio and my Vanguard portfolio, it's been very up and to the right. Obviously, a lot of that is dollar cost averaging, and I've gone through some pretty rough times in terms of 2022 was a key moment for me where I learned a lot. Obviously, there was a market pullback then, and I was still quite young, but I invested as much as I could. So you can see this kind of trajectory that's been happening. Dollar cost averaging is something that I kind of live by for my personal finance, but as these portfolios get bigger, they're more affected by market swings than just at the start when I could just dollar cost average and the amount would go up each month. But you can see the breakdown. So I have around 70% of my portfolio which is in ETFs, which includes Vanguard's VGS, which is my biggest. It's an international shares tracking ETF at around 60 grand. VOO, which is a S&P 500 tracking ETF, which is around 30,000. And then I have another little bit of a position that I'm growing. I'm about to invest $5,000 in it, which is Vanguard's new V5AH, which is another S&P 500 tracking ETF. So, and then the remaining 30% is individual stocks. So Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, which I've been buying in the dip on. Again, if you want more information, feel free to check out one of my portfolio update videos, as I do go a bit more in depth there. But you can see how my American and my Australian portfolios are built. And how they're split up. Again, I do invest most of my money into ETFs, as I don't think I'm some amazing investor. I am someone who studied economics and finance, and I am doing my CFA charter, but I think long-term investing in ETFs is probably a good option for me. Again, it's not financial advice, so do whatever you like, but just for my personal situation. And then the remaining 30% just allows me to invest in companies I believe in and have a bit of fun as well on my investing journey. So this is kind of how the main bulk of my assets are sitting. In terms of dividends as well, it's another thing. So overall, as an investor, I've probably made around $4,500 in dividends. Nearly 3,100 is in my Vanguard, and then 1,000, pretty much USD, is in my stake. So a bit more than that if you convert it to Australian. And all my dividends are reinvested back into my portfolio, as I always say. Last year alone, I made around $2,000 in dividends, so that was a big year for me. And again, as these portfolios grow and I start earning more money through my career and I can invest more money, hopefully I'll have that snowball effect as I grow these portfolios. And that's really been the key drivers. If we do have a look at my stock portfolios, you can see I mentioned here this was the $5,000 that I am waiting on that I will be investing. I got a $166 dividend coming in. This is my Vanguard account. And then this is my stake account, again, just to kind of prove that these are real numbers. Again, I do these weekly videos, so I'm happy to share with everyone kind of how my journey is going, and I hope more people can, as this is something I would have really enjoyed when I was starting, and I've been doing these videos now for around 5 years, I believe. So yeah, it's been a good journey, and you can go back and see any of my old videos of my kind of progress over time. But again, I'm quite happy with how things are sitting. Obviously, the more I can invest now when things are cheaper, hopefully, if there is a market uptick in the future, I'll be well positioned to go forward with that. But again, I'm quite happy at the moment, 23-year-old, kind of doing the hard work now to hopefully reap the rewards going forward. But feel free to share how your stock portfolios are doing, or how your investments are doing, and how you're going on your own personal net worth journey. I'll keep doing these videos once a month. I don't do them every week, because there's not as much to update each week. Once a month, there's obviously more changes. So next month, again, I'll do it, but I'm trying to hold myself accountable to keep doing these and just kind of build a community and hold myself to a point where I have to keep investing and keep showing people. As again, one of the reasons why I invest so much in my stock portfolios, I don't take the money out compared to savings, where I can be a bit more lackadaisical. I can take money in and out, where my investing, I feel like I keep it there really for a long-term outlook. So again, this is my April update. Feel free to share how you're doing, and I'll update again next month. Cheers.